100.9 on your FM dial. Today with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. We have a special guest on the show today. She's the first hijab wearing jockey in competitive British horse racing, and her name is Khadijah Mellah. For those of you who don't know Khadijah Mellah, she won the Magnolia Cup, which is a prestigious cup in terms of horse racing for International Women's Day. Khadijah, welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Alaikum salam. I'm good, Sister Khadijah. I'm very well, thank you. How are you, and how's your Ramadan? And, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, thank you so much for having me. Ramadan so far has been going good. I've been trying to get as much fitness as I possibly can integrated in this month to push myself as far as I can. Right. But yeah, so far so good.
Okay, brilliant. Hey, Khadijah, let's talk about your love for horses, and when did that start and how?
I started from a very, very early age. I've been obsessed. I read loads of sort of kids' horsey books. Obviously, I live in Southeast London, so it was quite difficult to sort of ride at all. Right. I started riding every month in Kent. It was really expensive and really far, so it wasn't very sustainable. I also found out about this riding club in Brixton called Ebony Horse Club, and that's how I basically picked up my riding and got loads of opportunities.
Because I read somewhere that your parents used to drive you to Kent. Was it every other weekend? They used to drive you to Kent so that you could do the horse racing, so that you could do the jockey training. Sorry,
horse riding. It was actually just normal horse riding. I only started my jockey training 2 years ago, and it was prior to my race, 3 months before the race. So it's been a very short racing journey so far.
So when you first started off, you started off with ponies, right? And then you made the transition.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I rode normal ponies for about 6 or 7 years. Then I started riding more sort of professional horses in the last year of my riding, just before I started my jockey training. But yeah, it was really expensive out in Kent, and I could only ride for 30 minutes. It wasn't really riding. I was just a passenger on this horse.
Passenger. I like that. You was born and raised in Peckham, South London.
Yeah.
And I know that your parents are from Algeria and Kenya.
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled to Kenya and Algeria?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've been to Kenya. I went for a trip around the safari in I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I've been
Serengeti. It's not. Is it the Serengeti? No.
I think it might have been. Okay. I'd have to get back to you on that one, but yeah, I've been to Nairobi, which is my mum's, where my mum's family lives, and Kembu, which is her home village. I've also been to Algeria loads. I love Algeria. My grandparents live there, and I have a lot of family there.
In Algiers, or?
Yeah, in Algiers, Ain and Naja, which is like north.
Okay. There's a very famous part in Algiers called the Kasbah, which I read about, and it's a famous part in Algeria where when they had the Algerian independence from France, there's an area called the Kasbah, and there was a famous guy there called Ali Lepont, and he used to live in.
Yeah, my dad talks about him. Yeah.
Ali Lepont was very, very famous in Algeria. In 2019, you was followed by a camera crew, and you was followed through your area they gave you a thoroughbred horse to ride with. How did you get to grips with riding a thoroughbred horse for the first time?
It was terrifying. I definitely had a few near-death experiences. I'm not even joking. Those horses are machines. They go so fast. Imagine you're on a motorbike and you have zero control of the motorbike, and you haven't got a full body suit or helmet. You've got a helmet, but you're going at about 40 miles per hour and you've got no control. Like, anything could happen. It's terrifying, because racehorses, as much as they are amazing and wonderful creatures, they are sometimes tricky to control and to figure out. Especially the first time I sat on one, I didn't understand them, and you have to understand horses before you can really operate cohesively. You can't work together properly if you don't understand the horse. And I was so used to normal fat chunky ponies that I didn't understand the logic of a really, really athletic built racehorse. So yeah, it was terrifying. But there were some horses I sat on, and it was amazing. Like, it was incredible. And the horse I rode for my race is an unbelievable horse, and I fall in love with him and I love him to bits. And he is the most incredible horse that I've ever ridden.
The horse that you rode for the documentary that you was chosen for, is it Haviland?
Haviland, yeah.
What kind of horse is it? Is it actually a thoroughbred, or is it, because I know you've got different names of horses. You've got gelding and different names of horses. So I mean, I don't know anything. I'm just like, learning.
Oh yeah, no, I can explain it for you. So mares are female horses. Right. Stallions are male horses that haven't been castrated, and right. Geldings are male horses that have been castrated. Right. Essentially, some stallions are too much to handle and are better tempered if right. you castrate them. So I met Haviland after he'd been castrated, and so he's called a gelding. But yeah, he's a normal. He's a working racehorse. However, he is retired, so he doesn't actually race anymore. They right. took him somewhat out of retirement for my race.
Wow.
He's currently just a lead horse for all of the younger horses because he's got a lot of experience. But,
yeah. Are you aware of, because I know you spoke just about castration just now. Are you aware of some of the abuses that take place within the horsing world? There was a picture of a guy. I don't know if you saw it a month or two ago. He was actually taking pictures on top of a dead horse, and I found that, like, that was quite disturbing for me. And I was like, these horses are given to you as creatures for you to use. So why would you take a picture of them? They're creatures, and they're so lovely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have to 100% say that those photos were not an accurate reflection of what the general racing sort of bubble is. And unfortunately, wherever you go, there will always be people who don't do or respect what things that they should. It's just a very unfortunate case that someone had mistreated their power and position. I can say with honesty and like complete certainty that the horses that I've ridden and the horses that I've been around and the people that I've been around treat horses somewhat even better than humans around them. Like these horses get bathed every morning and every evening. Their stables are cleaned like continuously. They are fed very well. They are kept in tip-top condition. These horses are treated as elite athletes because ultimately they are. The horses that I've been around and so far, and I've been quite a few yards, they are treated as princes and princesses. But yeah, a lot of veterinary work is put into them to make sure that they try and perform to their best position, because at the end of the day, the trainers want to make money, and everyone wants to make money, and the only way to do that is to make sure the horses are happy and healthy. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tariq Zampaladas, aka Freedom, was saying the same thing. He was saying that it's not a true reflection of the horsing world and how people treat horses, people that work with them day in, day out, and that they're treated very, very well, and they're absolutely lovely creatures, and it's an absolute pleasure to work and be around them. You were chosen to represent your club at a charity race, but you did on the day of the race, the Magnolia Cup. Did you think I can go ahead, I can win this, or was you just like, I'm just gonna go in here and do the best that I could do? Did you have any inclination in you at all that, do you know what, I'm gonna go for this?
There were sort of like a set of different puzzle pieces within my like attitude towards the race. Obviously, I had the pressure of performing because a lot of people had put a lot of time and energy and money into my preparation, my training, securing the horses. There's been so many people that have collaborated to make it work. So I had a lot of pressure to perform. Ultimately, my management and mentors all said to me, just try your best. We just want to get you home safe and sound. As long as you get across the finish line, we're happy. But obviously within myself, like I'm a very competitive person as it is. Like I've been doing sport, different loads of different sports since I was young. Yeah, like I'm kind of always like I'm in it to win it, but also let's be be realistic. So I try to manage expectations, and I told everyone that I'd come sort of third or fourth at best.
Yeah.
But obviously within myself, I really wanted to come first. So ultimately, I knew that I'd try and push for first, but yeah.
Fantastic. Because when I was watching the race, I was like, when I saw you go from the start, you know, you were saying that, you know, you're going to stay with this bunch, because if you stay with this bunch, you're going to be all right. If you stay with this bunch, you're going to follow them because they actually know what they're doing. And you know, you found it difficult to stay on the horse when it started galloping straight away. And you was like, you know, I'm just going to stick with them, because when it started galloping, it started to get really intense. You was like, I'm just going to stay with them. You know, and you stayed with them, and then obviously it started to get a bit intense, and you know the race was getting into it, and then you kind of moved away from them a little. You was like, you know what, I'm going to go for this. And apparently you said it was the kickback from the horse that just kind of just like it just went. Do you know what I mean? Like we the viewers and the listeners, I myself don't understand that. What is the kickback from the horse? Because you know, once it goes, how do you stop that? You can't. It's just gone, isn't it? Like.
So you start off the race, and because, as I said, I wanted to sit behind some horses that are a lot better than my horse, because there's a ranking system, and I knew that Haviland, he's a great horse. He's rated 66, and there was some rated 82 horses, which is quite a big difference in ranking. So I meant that they could travel quite fast. So I thought to myself, just like with cyclists, if you sat behind an airstream of a faster horse, it will help to keep my horse balanced and relaxed. So that's what I did, and that's what I was advised to do. I also knew from riding Haviland, historically speaking, and I'd done some practice sort of gallops with him. Essentially, he blows out if you push him too hard. So I just let him go and like sort of let him relax and run as he wanted to. But I tried to keep behind those people. But also, as soon as you remove him from the slipstream, and as soon as you pull Haviland out and he's in the open, he instinctively wants to overtake the horse in front of him.
Oh, right.
So I knew that from my training, and I knew that he could definitely accelerate for about 6 meters, 7 meters, 10 meters maximum. So in my mind, just before the finish line, I gave him about 15 meters to sort of pull out and accelerate. And that's when I sort of like tried to push him as much as I could. And it was that sort of point where I just encouraged him for about 10, 15 meters. That was the difference between me winning and losing. I was just, I've never raced before, so I was just like, let's give it a go. And it worked out quite well.
You look like a pro out there, to be honest with you. I mean, you was up against Olympians, Victoria Pendleton, who's actually an Olympian rider. So, you know, for somebody like yourself, is that correct?
She's an Olympic cyclist.
Okay, Olympic cyclist, sorry. Is an Olympic cyclist. You know, you came in as a novice, and you done justice, to be honest with you, you know, and congratulations, you know, for actually winning the Magnolia Cup first time around. I think it's absolutely an amazing achievement, and props to you and your team. And you know, people don't know you only had like 4 months. I think it was 2 months of intensive training at the British School in Newmarket for you to get ready for that, and you know, to go with all that intensity and you know all the buzz around it and go there and win it is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah. It was definitely a very special moment in my life. Jazakallah khair for your praise.
Oh, you're welcome. What was the story for the documentary Riding a Dream? Did you come up with the name for the documentary? Because it was a short film, and it won an award for the British Film Documentary Film Festival. Tell us about that.
So I didn't actually come up with the name originally. I did get an option to try and change it. I couldn't really think of anything better. I thought Riding a Dream was pretty fitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I originally only decided to sort of start the training. Well, the main reasoning behind my training and my race was to get more exposure for Ebony Horse Club. So that's why they decided to do the documentary alongside with it. Ultimately, I didn't realize how big the documentary would be.
Right.
And I assumed it'd be like a sort of a 5-10 minute YouTube type documentary. And as it progressed, I realized that it was a lot bigger. Ultimately, I still can't believe that it did so well and it was on ITV and so many people heard my story. I can't believe it, but yeah, it was a very phenomenal part of my life, and I'm really glad for the people that were involved, and I still speak to the film team now. They're very lovely people, and yeah, onwards and upwards, I hope.
Definitely.
There.
Fantastic. Where was the award ceremony held? And I know there was a few dignitaries there, to name a few.
Unfortunately, it was all during lockdown, so I didn't actually attend anything.
Oh,
And I didn't actually know when the date of the ceremony was for the
right.
online sort of
No problem.
awards day. But
No worries.
I heard from my manager on a random Monday, I think, and he was like, "We won," and I was like, "Oh, we won!"
Yay! Fantastic. You've met the Duchess of Cornwall. I know some of that. You've met Prince Charles at I think is at Sandringham Palace. How was that when you met the Duchess of Cornwall and Prince Charles? And I know there was rumours as well that you met the Queen briefly. I think it was Cheltenham or Newmarket. How was that meeting the royals?
I've met. Funnily enough, I've actually met Duchess of Cornwall 3 times. It was once.
Okay.
Yeah, it was once I did a. It's quite funny. I did a little sort of riding presentation because her and the Queen, are very very well linked to Ebony, so they come and visit every now and again, and brilliant. We do like a parade, a little riding parade for them. Right. And I was participating in the parade, and my horse tried to kick this other horse. It was quite funny. But yeah, that's when I first met her, and I said it was a very brief hello. And then I went for a sort of like a garden party reception, and I spoke to her, and she wished me luck for the race. Brilliant. And so she'd be keeping an eye out. And then I met her for my documentary premiere, which was incredible. Fantastic. And she watched the documentary with me, and I accidentally referred to her as with her first name instead of just Your Highness, which was really embarrassing. But yeah, that was an accident.
Camilla.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Khadijah. In 2019, you was named Young Sportswoman of the Year. How did you feel about that?
Again, it took a while for me to digest a lot of what happened to me during 2019 and 2020. Again, took me by surprise. I couldn't believe that I was in the same room as most of the people there anyway. Yeah. It definitely is a journey that I've been on to try and figure out my place, because ultimately I feel like I have a lot of imposter syndrome, and I don't quite believe that I'm deserving for most of the awards that I get and stuff. It's weird because I had only been training for a short amount of time, which is obviously commendable. However, I was in a room with people who had dedicated their lives to sport and had worked for years, and it just felt very odd and very surreal to be in a room full of Olympic elite history makers, and it was a lot to absorb.
But I personally think it's a well-deserved award, because it's something that you're passionate about, and I think it was Oprah Winfrey once said, "Follow your passion, because that is where your success lies." Yeah. So from what I can see, this is your passion, and this is where your success lies. So I think you're every bit deserved the award, every bit as anybody else would have deserved the award for following their passion and what you do. And congratulations on that as well, winning 2019 Sportswoman of the Year, and like you said, upwards and onwards from here. In your own words, Khadijah, seeing that it is the holy month of Ramadan, what is Ramadan about for you and your family?
It's about spiritual discipline for me specifically. It's always been a lot growing up for me in the UK, and going to a private school, and like being in very white, not only white spaces, but non-Muslim spaces always. Like wherever I've been, I've found it difficult to even have Muslim friends.
Right.
A lot of jihad within myself is something that I struggle with all the time.
Right.
So it's just, so for Ramadan, for me, the biggest thing is making sure that I sort of refine my discipline and try and pray my prayers in time, like just try and get on the straight and narrow a little bit more. But yeah, it's also about pushing myself, I think, because through the year, especially this year, I've had a rough time staying motivated, especially with lockdown and corona, the lack of organized sport, and that's something that's very close to me and keeps me positive. For me, it's always about during Ramadan trying to keep fit and healthy whilst also doing my everyday activities, and not to become lazy just because I'm not eating and drinking, because a lot of people get lethargic and take loads of naps and stuff, and I try my best to continue living everyday life, even though it's annoying because you've woken up for Suhoor and you haven't had a proper night's sleep and stuff. But
yeah, fantastic. I read somewhere that when the lockdown was going on, that you was a bit down, and you said to your trainer, I think it was Ollie, or you said to him, I need horses. Like I can't do this. Like I need horses. Like I'll travel down to get the horses. And he was like, well, I'd love to give you horses, but there's no horses available right now. Even the trainers that want horses are not even giving horses, and it's very limited the amount of people that want horses, because for yourself, horses is like it's kind of something that you really connect with, and something that makes you happy. Do you know what I mean? To be around them, to be around the stables, to be cleaning them, and to just be involved with them day to day. So I think that was quite hard for you in a sense during the lockdown.
100%. I can't begin to explain it, even through university in general, because obviously doing a degree has meant that I haven't had enough time or as much time to focus on horses. It's been difficult to keep up a routine, keep up my motivation, just in general. And then lockdown happened, and not only was my university online, but I couldn't train down in Newmarket because they didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the horses. And then Ebony was closed because of coronavirus, and they're not allowed to operate during lockdown. And it was just like, what do I do? And I'm not a person to be idle. Like I can't function well being bored. It really does not sit well with me. So yeah, it was really bad.
You seem like that you've got to be active. You seem like you want to get into the thick of it, and that's what keeps you going, from what I can see. Fantastic. You're an inspiration to many young women, especially Muslim girls wearing hijab. How do you feel about that? I personally, I'm so proud of you, and I can imagine what others are thinking. I mean, it's amazing. And what part do your parents play in everything that you do, and your siblings in everything that you do in terms of horse racing?
So my brother actually sort of introduced the racing world to me in general, because he actually has been race riding a lot. He's been training for his jockey license a lot longer than me.
Wow.
He started a year and a half before me, so a lot of my success came from his advice and his sort of help, because I had to live away from home for a while, and obviously it was quite lonely, and I was just so grateful to have my brother about to guide me, and also to keep me motivated, and he kept my spirits up, because you'd have a rough day, a horse would try and throw you off, or a horse would go way too fast and you get told off, and then at the end of the day I could be like, yo, what happened to you and your horse, and we could exchange stories. It'd be so funny, because every single day you ride a racehorse is there's always a story to tell. Like there's never a single like boring day in the office when you're riding a racehorse, if you know what I mean. But yeah, my parents have always been supportive. They're the ones who drove hours to take me to riding lessons. Like they've always encouraged me to keep active, to stay out of trouble. Like since I was about 11, they took me to karate lessons, made sure that I was swimming age 9, like made sure that I had access to all the sports clubs and facilities that I wanted. And obviously, like I'm very, very lucky that I've had such encouraging parents. But there are people that I've met that haven't had obviously the same upbringing, and I really hope that those people can still find the motivation to try and figure it out for themselves. And it is a privilege to be called an inspiration by loads of young girls, and I really hope that my story has made an impact in some way, shape, or form, and motivated and encouraged young girls to at least try out something new. Because for me, growing up, I tried out loads of different sports, and you know, you need to find which one suits you best. And it was really sad because I loved cricket and I loved football, and the girls' teams all shut down because none of the girls would turn up to training. And if there's one thing that I'm going to say to any young Muslim girl, any young girl in general, like keep persevering, because you don't know what team could end up making you a superstar or making you hit the headlines. Like you just don't know. Like I didn't realize that I would end up making headlines through horses and racing, and I didn't even know that I would ever become a jockey. So like just keep persevering and trying it out.
Hear that, brothers and sisters? So, you know, especially the sisters, you know, just continue pursuing something that you're doing, whether it be horse riding, football, whatever you're doing, just continue doing that sport, because you never know where you might find your passion, and somebody might pluck you out of obscurity like they did Khadijah Mellah. And, you know, that could be your calling in terms of what you're doing. For the viewers who are just tuning in, we have Khadijah Mellah on the show today. She is a horse racing jockey. She's the first hijabi wearing horse racing jockey in the British history. And she won the Magnolia Cup, which is a prestigious cup in the world of horse racing. Khadijah, tell us, after you won the Magnolia Cup, this touched me because I see footballers doing it, right? Like regular. I see Mo Salah doing it. I see Sadio Mane doing it. You kissed the ground after you won the Magnolia Cup.
I really respect anyone that shows. Obviously, wearing a hijab is a very obvious display of faith. But I really respect footballers and basketballers and any sportsman or woman that remembers instantly after their victories where it realistically came from. And I've always said or respected, as I said, I've always respected people that do sujood after their victories, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, so that's why I did it.
Mashallah, amazing. You met a British sprinter, Dina Asher Smith. Tell us about your meeting with her. I know that you both discussed life and, you know, being sportswomen and stuff like that. So give us, the viewers, a taste of what you guys actually discussed.
Again, she's one of those women that I could not believe that would know my name, that would see me as an equal. But yeah, she's an incredible woman. I love her vibe. She's so bubbly and funny, and very, very authentic to her own personality and character, which I think is very important for anyone going into anything, like whether it's a job interview or, you know, live television. Being authentic and yourself is something that I love about her. And she's just a very fun person to talk to, and she asked me about my journey. We talked about her journey and how she used to be a student and how she had to balance being an athlete whilst also studying, and how I'm sort of on that studying journey. And she's super cool, and I can't wait to see her race in the Olympics, and she's doing well for herself, and I'm really glad to call myself her friend.
Mashallah, she's fast. I think I read somewhere she's actually the fastest woman in British history in terms of a runner. She's fast. Like, yeah,
she's, I think, the fastest 200-meter sprinter in the UK at the moment, which is incredible.
She's fast. So props to Dina, man. She's really, really fast. Just before agreeing to take part in the Magnolia Cup, you fell off a horse and ended up in hospital. How did that unfold?
So 2 weeks after being asked if I wanted to do this racing Magnolia Cup journey, I did a jumping lesson on one of the horses at Ebony. She was a baby, and I think it was the first time I rode her, so I didn't really understand her that well. And she just, I still need to figure out my jumping skills a bit more. But she took a big stride, and I didn't quite sit well to that, and flew off of her back and ended up on my back and sort of fractured my tailbone, which is the end of your spine.
Wow.
I couldn't walk for a couple of days, so I started panicking because I thought, well, I'm going to end up in a wheelchair. And I was in hospital, and they basically did loads of scans, said that my back wasn't seriously damaged, alhamdulillah. So I recovered quite well 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after that, and I was back on a horse again.
Right.
And I was very eager to just keep moving because like I had my A levels coming up, and I had coursework due, and like I just didn't have the time for an injury. So I think mind over matter kind of like was a key thing there, because I was just like I need to just get moving. I need to get moving, and my body sort of just caught up with healing and just getting on with it, I think. But yeah, it took a while to gain confidence again back on horses. So as soon as I went back to Ebony, the first thing I did was jump. I was like, let's do a jump lesson and get over that fear right now. Otherwise, it's gonna sort of turn into like plant a seed of doubt of my confidence in my own riding skills. So I was like, let's just sort it out now and then move forward.
Shows great resilience and confidence after falling off the horse and you know, injuring yourself, to get back on there and say, you know, I'm gonna go forth and do this and still win. You know, that's
well, I've fallen off horses so many times. That was my worst one, but like it's just another day in showbiz. Like horses are just you kind of just have to take it on the chin.
I think I've rode a horse when I was younger, years and years ago. I can't remember. It's probably when I was so much younger. But when I look at them, I think they're just lovely and absolutely amazing and majestic creatures. But there's also a side to me that's a bit wary and scared for some reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Every time I sit on a horse, I'm always at least 15% cautious and wary of what's going on around me and what's going on in this horse's head. Like horses have their own personalities. And as I said, Havland is the most chilled out, sort of easy breezy, like he's just a lovely guy. He's a lovely horse. Like you gotta take each horse as a human being personality sort of trait. They all have different likes and dislikes, and even they have mood swings. So even if a horse is nice one day, you don't know if next week they're going to be in the same mood. So you just have to be cautious. Right. And yeah, I think being on your toes is very important as a rider. But yeah, also having trust in your own ability is big.
Amazing. It's because you explain the psychology of a horse race for people that don't know, because we're like novices here, and explain the psychology of horse race, because I've read somewhere that you have to have that spiritual connection with the horse. How does that work?
So most jockeys actually sit on horses day in, day out that they've never met before. And I think that is something that I'm going to definitely struggle with if I go professional. Yeah. But yeah, there are some horses you will 100% get along with. Like Hayley Turner and Onassis is a very good example for me. Like she rides so many horses. She's won on so many other horses, but there are individual horses that you just know you work well with. And just like Frankie Dettorian and Enable, like there are always one or two horses that are your favorites and you just work well with. But yeah, as a jockey, it is very important to have the horsemanship and the confidence to sit on any horse and instantly make a connection, or instantly manage to understand the horse you're riding and try and extract the potential out of the horse as well as yourself. It's a very, very partnership-based interaction.
Yeah, fantastic. I was also reading somewhere that you said that the horses, if you're nervous, they can actually tell that.
Oh, 100%. It is the most irritating thing. I don't know if it's pheromones, heartbeat. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'd be nervous as hell, like so nervous, and I just know that. Like I'd be nervous of the fact that the horse knows that I'm nervous, and it's like a circle of nervousness, because I'm like, okay, chill out. This horse is going to sense it. What if the horse has already sensed it and it's going to play up? What are we going to do now? Like, and get nervous again, and then it's like chill out, and then you go through this cycle of like. I've had it so many times where I sat on, like, especially when I was starting my training, they were always like, be confident, relax. I'm like, I can't relax. This horse knows I'm not relaxed.
It could tell. It can clock that you're not relaxed. Another thing, you know, like I've seen that so many of the jockeys are very small, tiny. Like, you know, you mentioned Frankie Dettori, he's tiny. Like, and I see the horse so big, and I'm like, how does this little guy control this big animal? How? Like,
with a lot of difficulty. Let me tell you that. Like, these horses, and people take it for granted. Being a jockey is beyond being an athlete. Like I can't begin to explain it. You have to make sure that you're like featherweight champion kind of weight sort of like category, and you also need to try and, you know, control this humongous beast full of so much power. But yeah, these jockeys do it with great difficulty and experience, and you know, they are literally bones and muscle. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how. That's my main concern. How am I gonna become that lean, but also have the skill and the motivation to continue riding these races? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. To be honest with you, absolutely amazing. Horses are, you know, just majestic creatures, and I'm trying to get into riding them after this interview with you. I'm actually going to Leicester. I'm going to go to the Equestrian Academy and book in and just get to grips with them and see what it's like. Khadijah, for the kids,
exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a go. I said to Tariq Freedom, I said I'm gonna have a go, and I'm gonna get to grips with it and see what it's like.
Good for you. Yeah. Please let me know how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. Because when I stroke them, I feel like, they're just so lovely. Just strokes, almost therapeutic. You know, it's like
100%.
Would you say that young people in the inner city, would you say, especially from like you know, what they call like I would say, I don't want to say disadvantaged backgrounds, I would say council estates and stuff like that, where you've grown up and stuff like that, would you say it's very important for them to connect with things like horses for their development, no matter what they could be going through? Because sometimes people think that because we come from these backgrounds, that we, you know, horse racing or being in touch with horses, it's not for us, but it's for everybody.
100%. I could not agree more. And like you said, it is therapy. Like, everyone goes through rough patches, right? Some more than others, but not being able to have access to, first of all, pets, second of all, horses, third of all, like any sort of sports in general. Like, if there's no incentive for young people to have hobbies and have passion projects, then their life, well, I'd say most people's lives become somewhat meaningless and empty, which obviously ruins mental health, and ruins prospects for the future in terms of, you know, working hard and being ambitious. Working with horses built my patience, and obviously, like, being around horses, you can't communicate with them through like language. You have to understand the deeper meaning, and a deeper way of interacting, and it teaches you to be empathetic, because horses can't tell you when they're hurting. You have to figure it out. You have to understand and be attentive. Horses can be problematic, you know, like just like dealing with human beings, and being able to figure out and try and mend a bridge between you and a horse, and fix whatever issue you're having whilst on this horse, and create a partnership. Is like, there are so many people that I've met at Ebony that when they first came, they were super shy, and they had no reason to talk to people, or no common ground, no reason to socialize, and they've become and flourished. Like, there are so many examples. I can't even begin to describe the amount Ebony has changed so many young people's lives. And if you ever have the opportunity, please let me know when you're about in Brixton. I could definitely show you around. It is an incredible place, and I'm beyond grateful for the people who started it and for the people that have kept it going.
Fantastic. So I'm going to take you up on that offer, definitely. So from what you're saying to me, Khadijah, would you say that it can change the personal development of a young person who is, let's just say, a bit what's the word? A bit I wouldn't say recluse, a bit
Reserved?
Yeah, a bit reserved, and a bit for somebody that's quite reserved. Would you say it would help them come out of their shell?
Oh, without a doubt. Like, as I said before, there are so many people that I've met, and I've watched them, because I've been there for 6-7 years, and we've all grown together. And like, there's this young guy I know that has autism, and he didn't speak for the first month he was at Ebony, and now he literally has so many friends, and we all love him, and like he's a lot more still quite reserved, but still like, but now is somewhat more talkative, and he is a really great rider now and doing great things in rugby. So yeah, there have been many people that have now gone into horse riding careers and have got making a living, and they're onto like adult lives that they're making a living from horses. And yeah, there is a lot that Ebony and horses and other places that work with horses do feed so many young people, and it's invaluable.
It sounds like, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put these horses here for us to benefit from them, you know, and there's so many ways from what you're telling me that we can benefit from them, and there is many ways that people are actually benefiting from these horses. But in terms of the psychological development on people, I think there's so much to gain from them, to be honest with you, from what I'm getting from yourself.
Yeah, well, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged all of us to make sure that we teach our children to ride horses, and to the average person, they could be like, oh, that's so prehistoric, why would we don't need to ride horses anymore. But there is so much beyond that, and it is very important to realize, you know, beyond the meanings of what Muhammad says sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and beyond riding, how much there is to being around horses and animals and taking care. Like there are so many examples in the Quran and in the hadith that says, you know, take care of your animals and do not harm people and animals. And there was an example about a woman that didn't take care of her cat, and that was the tipping point for her to go to heaven or hell. And it's such an important thing to be compassionate and empathetic towards creatures and human beings in general. But yeah,
100%.
Beautiful.
100%. You couldn't have put it any better. I totally agree. 100%. You know, it's very important for us to take care of animals, and horses is a sunnah from the Prophet ﷺ. He said it's a sunnah to get involved with horses. So all the Muslims out there that are listening, we've got to get involved in horses. You know, get involved with it. They're absolutely amazing creatures. You don't know what you're missing out on. I myself am going to take the jump first. So if you want to follow after me, you're more than welcome. Absolutely.
And for all the young people that are like, yeah, well, my dad said I can't, or my mum said I can't. Well, why not? Like, if it's encouraged by the Prophet, then there is no reason not to.
100%. That's the benchmark. That's absolutely the benchmark there. Khadijah, what is the living age of a horse? And when horses give birth, do they have twins and stuff like that? I'm so intrigued now.
Okay, so well, horses can have twins, but it's very rare. And it's actually quite dangerous for the mother to have twins. If you've ever seen a pregnant horse with just one baby, you'd understand what I mean. They literally look enormous. And these horses are born and they're walking day two. They're up on their feet within an hour of being born. Have you seen a human baby crawl out of the womb? No, you haven't. Like horses, due to the fact that, you know, they're from the wild, and ultimately being in the wild means that as soon as you're born, you're vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? That there's always prey about trying to eat horses up, and they're not predators. They're not prey, they're predators. So they have to basically run away from everything. So yeah, they're born fully formed and ready to go. So by the age of 2 years old, horses are ready to ride and ready to race. Most trainers wait until they're 3 because their bones have developed a lot better. But yeah, they're sound to ride and race develop depending on their development. Age 2, and obviously 2-year-olds in a human sense are useless. So there's the difference. They live until about 35, I think. I've definitely sat on a horse that was about 29. I think the oldest horse that's ever lived is 37, but don't quote me on that. But yeah,
amazing, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. For those of you just joined in, we've got Khadijah Mellah on the show. She is a horse racing jockey and the first horse racing jockey in British history to wear the hijab. Khadijah, we've got 2 minutes left. And for those of the viewers that don't know, you're actually going to be on the Islam channel on the 6th of May. For those who didn't catch this show, you can catch Khadijah Mellah on the Islam channel on the 6th of May, where she's going to be interviewed about horse racing and everything to do with horses and the Magnolia Cup and stuff like that. So that should be very exciting. I myself are definitely going to tune in. So that should be very, very amazing. Khadijah, it's been amazing having you on the show today. I mean, we could just go on and talk for forever about horses and Islam and Deen, and I've learned so much today. It's been an absolute pleasure learning from you. What's next for Khadijah Mellah? I mean, I'm like, you're going to go and win the Grand National. That's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? You're going to go and win the Grand National, the Gold Cup, and these types of things. That's what I'm saying. But you tell me what's next for Khadijah Mellah.
Well, that's a very good question. A lot of people have asked that question, and I just had a meeting yesterday with my mentor, asking the very same question: what is out there for me to do, and how do I get there, and what are the best options for me? Biggest thing for me at the moment right now is finding the very little motivation that I have left to just push myself through the rest of this degree. I'm going to try and, inshallah, get my first in my bachelor's for my engineering degree. Inshallah, we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to go back into training and figure out what it is that I want to do, because I inshallah want to go into presenting in media, but we'll see. Inshallah.
Well, it's been amazing having you on the show today, and I wish you the best of luck with your degree. I believe, inshallah, you get first honors. I'm going to make dua for you for that, inshallah. And when you go pro, please let me know, because there's so much more to come from you, inshallah. If you sign and go pro, inshallah, we'll all be sitting and waiting for that. And it's been amazing having you on the show today. May Allah bless you the rest of your Ramadan, your family, and all your endeavors, and may accept your duas and forgive you your shortcomings. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And inshallah, from everyone here at Radio Ramadan, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Khadijah, and it's been amazing having you on the show with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. Assalamu alaikum. Hello? Will you come back for part 2?
Me? Is that all good?
Will you come back for part 2?
I can try. It depends when it is, though.
Whenever. Not now. After you've won the Gold Cup.
Oh, part two. Yeah, of course, inshallah.
Yeah, after you've won the Gold Cup or something, come back for part 2, inshallah.
You know what? There's some big plans underway for 2022, 2023 actually. So you'll probably want to interview me again in another 2 or 3 years. But yeah, part 2, inshallah.
Inshallah, Khadijah Mellah. Been amazing having you on the show with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet, on Radio Ramadan 87.9 on your FM dial.